Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, we're going to be learning Sakura Sakura, which is a traditional Japanese folk song. So this song I think is going to be perfect for the intermediate player, and we're going to talk about why that is and a little bit about the song in just a second, but let's start off with the lesson. So in this video, we're going to be learning the entire song. But if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, you can click this link or go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for Sakura Sakura, and on that page you'll also be able to access the on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, watch the tab scroll across in real time. You can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a really great asset in learning this song that much easier. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this tune. So the first thing is that this arrangement needs a low G ukulele. So that low G is going to provide us a bass note. And that bass note is actually really important because this song is arranged using double stops. So a double stop means that we're playing two notes at the same time. And when we use that approach for arranging or writing, you can get some pretty interesting tonal landscapes from it. So for example, let me play the fifth bar of this tune. And in this fifth bar, you can hear that the bass is going to walk down in pitch while the melody walks up in pitch. So we have this contrasting motion, which is really cool. Sounds a little bit like this. So that bass is going ba-dum-bum. So it's just going down in pitch while the melody is going up. So kind of a nice contrast, but when you mix it together, sounds really beautiful. Now that leads us to a second point. There are some crazy stretches. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frets that it spans. I think that's the farthest stretch in this tune, so the 2nd to the 7th fret. So if you're new to doing stretch chords or stretch licks, stretch phrases, then check out this lesson right here. It's going to have 3 exercises that help to increase the reach of your left hand. And remember, anytime you're doing something that is requiring a far reach of your left hand, take it slow. So the best way to prevent any kind of injury or overstraining your left hand is to take it slow. So check out that exercises on that lesson. I'll put in the description box below as well. Now the next point that I want to talk about is how this song was written. So this song is derived out of a pentatonic scale. And it's a scale that is commonly used in traditional Japanese music. It's known as the in scale. So penta for pentatonic means 5. So we have a 5-note scale, and it sounds like this, and I'll put the tab up. So really, really cool stuff. So that formula is 1, flat 2, 4, 5, flat 6, 1. So 1, flat 2, 4, 5, flat 6, 1. So 5 notes, and we're playing out of D. Now, if you've studied music theories and specifically scales before, then you pretty much are seeing that it's a Phrygian scale without the 3rd and the 7th. And what happens is when we remove those 2 notes, you really get that sound that you would expect. Really, really cool sound. Now this tune is pretty much going to be playing from the open strings all the way up to the 7th fret. So this is pretty much what we're playing out of for this arrangement. It does go past that, I think, for 1 measure. So that would mean in addition to this position at the beginning of the neck, we're also going to be playing midway and then up here, plus these bass notes. So If none of this makes sense to you, if you're new to studying theory or looking at scales, analyzing scales, formulas from scales, how they are derived, how you can alter scales, then I highly encourage you to check out our Intro to Music Theory and Jamming. It's a really awesome course. You can click that link to check it out. What it does is it not only teaches you theory, but also shows you how to apply it, and that's key. So it's not only knowing theory, but knowing how to apply it so you can actually use it in your playing. So let's go ahead and jump now into learning this tune. Now, this is a 16 bar song, so 16 bars in length. But in reality, we only have 9 bars to learn. So that means that 7 bars are going to be repeated. So even though we only have 9 bars to learn, it doesn't sound like a lot, but as you saw when I played measure 5, some of these bars are going to be quite challenging. So as we go through this lesson, we're going to be covering the rhythm that's being played. We're also going to be covering the key points for fingering, which fingering to use to make it the most efficient, make it the easiest to play. And the last thing too, I do want to highlight the right hand approach really quick. Most of this song, since it's a double stop, means that we're just going to be using 2 fingers to pluck throughout the entire piece for the most part. So it kind of leaves it open to interpretation on which fingers you want to use. I would definitely say to use the thumb for strings 4 and 3. And for strings 2 and 1, most people will probably use the index finger. So when you're plucking, you can do that. For me, I tend to favor either using the 2nd or the 3rd finger. So I may start with thumb and middle, then thumb and ring. So for me, I'm kind of thinking of it as ring plays string 1, middle plays string 2, thumb of course gets 4 and 3. So that's kind of my approach. But again, this is all open to whatever fits your playing style. So if you want to use the index finger and the thumb for all of it, go for it. Okay, so here is measure 1. This is the intro. I've got the intro labeled as 2 bars. So it sounds like this. So one thing with stylistic approach as you're playing this, you really want both notes to pop. So you want to pluck both notes with an even pressure so they're both ringing at that same volume. So you don't want the melody to overpower the bass, or you don't want the bass to overpower the melody. You kind of want them both to be even. Okay, so keep that in mind as you're working through this. So rhythmically wise, pretty simple for the first part. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So very simple rhythms. So with this, we're going to start with the middle and the ring finger. So you're going to take the middle, put it on 3 on string 4, ring goes on 3 on string 2. So I'm going to pluck both notes. After that, I'm going to lift the ring up, move the middle down a half step to the 2nd fret on string 4, pluck that with the open A. Okay, so you've got 1, 2. After that, we're going to jump all the way up to the 7th fret. So take that ring, put it on 7 on string 1, and we can put the index on 5 on string 1 as well, because we're about to do a pull off. So we're going to pluck the open G with the 7th fret of string 1, pull off to the 5th fret on string 1. So there's our 8th note, 3, and after that, take the middle, put it on 6 on string 4. So we have 3 and 4. If we put that together, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so let's give that one a shot, you and I. Here we go. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Nice. So after this, we're going to be playing out of a D minor. So think of that stock little basic D minor. So the only difference here is that we aren't going to be using the 4th string, so we're going to simplify the chord. So the middle goes on the 2nd fret of string 3, index is on the 1st fret of string 2, and of course we have the open A. So When we're transitioning, after you play that 6th fret, you literally only need to grab that 1st fret of string 2. You can pluck that with the open A, and then add the middle finger to the 2nd fret of string 3. Okay, so you don't have to go like directly into that chord shape, because you can see how difficult that would be, because our middle finger was being used there, and it's got to go quick jump, right? It's a little too much. So when I'm transitioning down, I'm just going to go down and grab that 1st finger and then add the middle. So here's that 2nd bar. So it sounds like that, rhythmically wise. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're grabbing 1st of string 2 plus the open A, then the 2nd fret of string 3, and then you're going to lift that index finger up, move that middle up to the 5th fret, string 3, put the ring underneath it, 5th fret of string 1. Pluck those 2 notes, and you're going to hold that out for a half note. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Don't forget that your dots, they are your kind of your guiding light, right? So they're your guiding, I forget the phrase. You get what I'm saying. They guide you. So use those dots to your advantage. Most ukes have the 1st dot on the 3rd fret, some don't. Some have the 1st dot on the 5th fret, so take a look at what you have. But memorize your dots. 3, 5, 7, 10, double dot is 12. So those will help you as you jump up and down, because there's quite a bit of jumping in this arrangement. So let's try that 2nd bar together. Here we go. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. If we backtrack, let's try the 1st into the 2nd bar. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's our intro. Now we're going to kick into what I'm calling the main theme. So this main theme is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 bars. But the middle section of it is going to repeat. So that's where we are seeing the big repetition chunk. So let's tackle just the first couple bars, and then we'll move into the next part after that. So here's what the 3rd and the 4th bar sounds like. Okay, so you can see that last one, crazy little stretch coming up. So starting with this 3rd bar, again, just by itself. Sounds like that. So a bit of a finger frenzy happening. So we're going to start off with the index finger on the 5th fret of string 1 and the ring finger on the 7th fret of string 4. So you're going to pluck both those notes, keep them anchored there. Add your middle finger now to the 6th fret of string 2, and you're going to pluck 1 and 2 together. So in essence, we have all quarter notes. We have 1, 2. So not too bad for the first part. So 1, 2. After this, we have a switch. This ring finger is going to drop down to the 7th fret of string 3. So it literally comes straight down, goes straight down. These other fingers lift up, and your pinky goes to the 7th fret of string 1. Okay, now this becomes your anchor. So you may want to just practice going da, da, da. You may want to just practice that transition. Okay, so those fingers lift up, 1 and 2 lift up, that goes down, pinky goes down. 1, 2, 3. Your last note after that is going to be the 5th fret of string 2. So you're going to play that note by itself. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? This becomes anchored, and that last note gets added. So we're anchoring these because we want everything to sustain into each other so it has a nice, even sounding flow to it. We don't want it to be super choppy. So that's why we're keeping fingerings held down. Okay, so let's give that bar a shot. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. Our next bar, here's the way that I would recommend switching to it. Lift the index finger up, move these two fingers down a whole step. So now you're on the 5th fret. So 5 on string 3, 5 on string 1. So here's what the second bar sounds like. Okay, so we're starting with ring and pinky on double 5. So we pluck those two strings. After that, lift the ring up, keep the pinky where it's at, use the index to play the D, which is the 2nd fret of string 3. So you're plucking that with string 1, so you have an octave. So bum, ba, so 1, 2. From here, we're going to lift the index finger up, move the pinky a whole step up to the 7th fret. Take the middle finger, put it on 4 on string 3. So you have a bit of an awkward stretch right here. You have 4 on 3, 7 on 1, middle ring. So you're going to pluck those two strings, then reach with your index finger to grab the 2nd fret of string 4. So the movement for this 4th measure, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is going to be the hard part, the ending of this 4th measure. Now when you're doing these crazy stretches, it's also really imperative that you have proper left hand form on the back of the neck. So you see this U-shaped gap that we have right here, that is really key to getting these stretch chords down and making it so that your left hand feels comfortable and not awkward, not hurting, no pain, nothing like that. So if you're new to really studying your left hand form, what's happening not only in front of the neck, but behind the neck, then I'm going to put a link to a super in-depth lesson on proper left hand form. It talks a lot about this U-shaped gap, talks about bar chords, partial bar chords where you're not covering all 4 strings, and talks about basic chords as well. So you can get a bit of a recap. Make sure you've got form right for all those basic chords. Check out that lesson below. It'll talk a lot about what you need to be able to get this stuff down. So again, covering key points for this bar. So when we have that octave after the 1, 2, after beat 2, when you go up, you're going up with middle and pinky. So you may want to just practice that, and then add the stretch to grab the last note. So let's try that second bar together. Here we go. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now let's go ahead and backtrack. Let's try both of those bars together. So this is measure 3 and 4. Here we go. 3, 4. Awesome. And if any of that goes too fast, you can use these directions to slow down the YouTube player. But again, premium members get access to that on-screen tab viewer, so that interactive tab player. And what's cool about that is you can set the speed incrementally. So if you're at like 67% speed, you can set it to that. If you're at 43% speed, you can set it to that. And you can loop sections, and you can just practice what you need to. So really great tool for tackling something tricky like this. So let's go ahead and jump into the next bar. So this is the 5th bar of the tune, and here's where our repeat starts. So this 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th bar, they're going to get repeated twice. So these next 4 bars, you're not playing 4 bars, you're actually playing times 2, so you're playing it again, so you're playing 8 bars. But we only have to learn it once since it gets repeated. So here's what our 5th bar sounds like. So this is the one that we covered in the intro, right? Had that cool contrasting motion, the bass goes down, the melody goes up. So the hard part again with this one is going to be the reach required of the left hand. So that's where we have that 6th fret span. So starts out with the index on the 3rd fret of string 4 and the ring finger on the 5th fret of string 1. From here, we're going to move in unison. We're going to move the index finger down to the 2nd fret of string 4, and the pinky goes on the 7th fret of string 1. But the key here is that you do at the same time. Okay, so index goes down, then pinky comes down, but together. So you may want to just practice that. So 3-5 to 2-7. Okay, all quarter notes for this measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 3-5 to 2-7. After that, you're going to lift the index up, move the pinky a half step up. So you're playing the 8th fret of string 1 plus the open G. We're going to finish it up with the ring finger playing 7 on string 1. Okay, so kind of an easy second half. So let's see if we can try that bar together. 3, 4. Okay, now here comes another hard part. So this next bar is going to be requiring 3 strings. So the transition is going to be what you want to practice. But first, let's learn this little shape. So we have the index finger on the 3rd fret, again, string 4. Your pinky goes on 6 on string 2, so it's an octave of that same note, that B flat note. After that, we're adding the ring to 5 on string 1. So you're plucking 4, 2, and 1. So the hard part is transitioning. So let me play bar 5 into bar 6. Okay, so after you play that 7th fret of bar 5, you're just going to move that finger down to the 5th fret, and then you're going to add these other fingers. But the thing is, that movement, again, as you saw, happens in unison. So that's what you want to practice with the transition, getting that unison shape down. So it all comes down to muscle memory. So getting this chord shape memorized and getting the fingerings knowing exactly where to go. So you can grab it in time, all 3 notes at the same time. So after we pluck this, we're going to be holding this for quarter note. Then we have 8th notes followed by quarter, and then 8th notes. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. So here's what the 6 bar sounds like together. Really, really cool. So we're plucking this chord, and after this, we're going to go up to the 7th fret, and we're going to play 7-5 on string 1. So ring, index finger. So this is going to be an 8th note, 2 end. So together you have 1, 2, and. Okay, after that, we're back to that 6th fret of string 2. This time around, we're going to hit that with the open G. Okay, so together you have 1, 2, and 3. And to finish it up, we're going to be, you can think of it kind of like an E minor, right? We have that staircase shape, but we don't need that index finger at all. We're just going to hit string 3, the 4th fret, and then string 2, the 3rd fret. Okay, so you're just going string 3, string 2. So you would have bum ba da dum ba da. Rhythmically, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Okay, so let's give that one a shot. Slow. 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Nice. And if we backtrack, let's try 5 and 6 together. Here we go. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Nice. Really, really cool sounding stuff. So going into our next couple bars, so 7 and 8, let me play 7 by itself. This one's actually really simple. It's out of that D minor. Remember that D minor without the 4th string. It sounds like this, all quarters. So literally just plucking out of that chord. Okay, So go ahead and make that D minor shape, and we're going to pluck 3 plus the open A, and then we're going to play string 2 just by itself, and then we're going to lift that index and play the first and second string open. And then finally put the index back down, but this time put it on the first fret of string 1. And you're going to pluck 3 plus 1 together. So again, starting on D minor, 3 and 1, string 2 by itself, lift the index up, open A, open E, put the index down on the first fret of string 1, pluck that with the third string. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a pretty easy bar. Let's give it a shot. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now transition wise, so after I play that out of the little E minor staircase, I can go down and just use the middle finger by itself and then add the first fret to that second string at beat 2. So I only need to add it when the music calls for it. So I don't have to grab this chord. So we talked about this earlier. We don't have to grab the full chord shape. We can kind of build the chord as it's called for. So again, if I call out hits 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1. So you see I'm on beat 1 right now. I don't even have that added. I added on beat 2. Okay, so that'll make the transition easier. That whole time too, I can keep that middle finger anchored the entire measure. So going into our last little bar for this repeat, this is the 8th bar, it's going to sound like this. Okay, one more time. Okay, so it's going to start with the ring on the 3rd fret of string 4. You're going to play that with the open A. This is going to be a quarter note, so we actually have that same rhythm that we saw in bar 6. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and... So we're hitting 4 and 1 together. Then we're going to play the open A, followed by the 1st fret of string 2. Okay, so that's 1, 2, and... After that, we're going to lift both fingers up, use the middle to play the 2nd fret of string 4, play that plus the open E. Okay, that's beat 3. And then we're going to go 3rd fret of string 4, and then 2nd fret of string 4. So starting on beat 3, we have 3, 4, and... Okay, so you can do a little piccato technique where it's 2nd, 1st to pluck. Or you can just hit it with your thumb. Okay, so together, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and... Nice. So not too hard. Let's try that one together. 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and... Awesome. Now if we backtrack, let's try that 7 and 8th bar together. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and... Nice. And if we backtrack again, let's try 5, 6, 7, and 8. So this is that section that gets repeated twice. So you want to keep that in mind, that you're going to double this. So 5 through 8, we'll just play it one time through though. Here we go. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and... So the tricky thing is when that repeat comes, it's going to be that transition going back into that 5th bar. Okay, so you want to practice that transition. Okay, so ba, da, boom, and jumping into 3, 5. So that's the transition that you want to practice. Now that same exact transition is going to happen after the repeat. So remember, you're playing 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you're going to play it again, 5, 6, 7, 8. But this time around, it's not 5, 6, 7, 8, right? It's 9, 10, 11, 12. So when you think of 8, 8 is the same as 12. So assuming that was 12, bar 13 is the same as the intro bar. So you want to practice going into the intro bar as well. So you want to practice that 8th, or in this context, the 12th bar, going back into that intro bar as well. Whoops, sorry, I put a little note there. I kept calling it the intro bar. It's the first bar of the main theme. So in this context, it's the 3rd bar. So you're going back into that 3rd bar. Okay, so just clarifying that section. So again, just the key concept is you really want to practice right, because that's a really tricky transition. Okay, so the key with this ba-dum-bum is that it's literally going to be sliding up with the ring to grab the 7, and then the index has to come down to grab 5 on string 1. So you just want to practice that. So this 13th bar is identical to the 3rd bar. Okay, so note for note identical. The bar after that, the 14th bar, is going to be a variation on the 4th bar. So we're basically going to be going higher up, and we are subbing out the melody note for a different one out of the chord. So it sounds like this. So basically we are playing the melody as a harmony note out of the chord. So together, that 13th and that 14th bar sounds like that. So here's this 14th bar, and it's going to be pretty easy to transition, although it looks kind of complicated. It's actually pretty simple. Think about where we left off. Right, we left off on 7, 5, 7. The thing that you have to do is you're going to lift the pinky up, you're going to move the ring finger up to the 10th fret, and this index finger, as it moves up, is going to drop directly down 1 string. So it's going to drop down to the 8th fret of string 1. Okay, so you have 7, 5, 7, pinky lifts up, ring goes up to 10, index drops down to 8. Okay, so I'm plucking 3 and 1. After that, I'm adding the pinky to the 10th fret of string 2. Okay, so we're just playing a B flat that is higher up. And it's the same chord as a D major, just moved up the neck. So it's the caged method. That's the method that we use to move chords higher up the neck, and they become different chords. So if you're new to that, which is a super useful concept to learn, then check out the lesson in the description box below for caged method. One of the benefits of caged method, if someone is playing a B flat here, just that stock B flat, you can play a harmonized B flat, a higher voiced B flat, up the neck. So it has a nice complement to the sound. So, you know, not everyone plays the exact same chord and everything sounds vanilla, right? It creates a little bit more color. Okay, so again, that transition is pretty easy. So bloop bloop, and pluck those 2 notes. And then the second hit is adding the pinky to the 10th fret of string 2, and you're going to pluck 1 and 2 together. Okay, so you have 1, 2. Now our last chord is a diminished, and we're going to be laying flat on the 10th fret of strings 1, 2, and 3, and we're adding the ring finger to 12 on string 2. So for this one, we're going to pluck 1 and 2 together, and then string 3. So that bar in its entirety, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So hard part here, 1, 2 is going to be this transition. So you just want to practice that transition. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see that the bar comes down and the ring finger comes down in unison. So same stuff we saw before. Okay, so let's try that bar together. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice, and if we backtrack, let's try the 13th and that 14th bar together. Here we go. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. Now we're into the last couple bars. This is the outro, so bar 15 and 16. So bar 15 is the same as the intro bar. So now I'm saying it correct. It's the same as the first bar in the song. Okay, so 100% identical. Nothing changes, identical. The 16th bar, identical up to the very last hit. So the 16th bar, okay, so remember this, when we played bar 2, we played ba, da, double stop. Instead of playing a double stop for that last hit, we're just going to lay the index flat on the 5th fret, string 1, 2, and 3, and do a slow strum with our thumb, kind of arpeggiating it. And you're just strumming the D minor just to give it a little bit more resolution than what we hear with a double stop. Okay, so 1, 2, lay flat for beat 3. Let's try that 16th bar. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3. And you can do a little retardando as well if you want in that section, up to you. But let's backtrack, let's try that outro, so 15 and 16 together. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. Now, that's everything for this tune, guys. And it's really open to a lot of interpretation on how you want to play it. So you can play it where it stays super tight to the beat, where you're bum, 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 da, 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 right? So you can play perfectly in time. Or you can be loose with it. You can use what's called rubato. And rubato means that we're not strictly adhering to the tempo. So for example, maybe you want to kind of like have motions like bum ba da dun 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 dun. Right, so you can hear that sometimes it was slow, sometimes it's sped up, but it still sounded natural. Right, so it's really a song that's open up to a lot of interpretation on how you want to perform it. So don't feel like you have to be so rigid with it. So keep that in mind as you're working on it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this tune. A lot of fun to play and a really good one for the intermediate player. A lot of stuff in it. You know, doing the double stops is a really cool sound. It also gave us an opportunity to work on stretch phrases, stretch chords, or actually I guess we could call it stretch intervals, 2 notes at the same time. So good practice with that. Don't forget to check out that lesson on increasing left hand reach in the description box below if you're new to increasing left hand reach. And yeah, really cool scale it's based out of. So yeah, a lot of stuff jam-packed into literally 9 bars of music to learn. A lot of fun. But guys, again, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Don't forget that if you do want to get the tabs to print off, keep for your records, that's available on this page, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for Sakura Sakura, and also on that page was that on-screen tab viewer, so that really cool interactive tab player where you can watch the tabs scroll across in real time, highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish, just all that fun stuff, especially it's really helpful. It's especially really helpful when you have a song that's a little bit trickier like this. All right, guys, again, hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next lesson. Take care.